Greetings, I'm Dr. Steve Tashiro. Thank you for taking the time to view this video. Before giving you the information you want about your thyroid, I want to take a couple minutes to ease any concerns you might have about the TV show that was aired in April about Doctors Brandon and Heather Cradur. I assure you, although they also help people with thyroid problems, we are not affiliated with them, and we do things entirely different in our office. Number one, I don't claim to be an endocrinologist. I'm speaking to you based on my 37 years of experience as a nutritionist, also based on my experience as a chiropractor. Also, we don't do group consultations, and we don't charge huge case fees. Simply put, we treat our patients the way we would like to be treated. So a bit about my background. I am a board-certified chiropractor and nutritionist. I've worked in the healthcare field for over 35 years, and my first health science degree is a master's in clinical nutrition, 1985, from the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut. Since then, I've helped thousands of people overcome chronic health conditions. I'm here now to share life-changing information with you about your thyroid. Every day, I exchange information about this and other chronic conditions with over 1,000 doctors across the country. You can view testimonials from our patients at lifechangingcare.com. Do you or your loved one struggle day after day with thyroid symptoms? Let's review what they are. First of all, we have hypothyroid symptoms. That's symptoms if your thyroid is underfunctioning, and they would include being fatigued and tired, having cold hands and feet, gaining weight easily, having constipation, depression, thinning, coarse hair that falls out, dry skin and scalp, even headaches that are worse in the morning and decrease as the day progresses. If you have an overactive or hyperthyroid, you probably have heart palpitations, a feeling of trembling inside, perhaps an increased pulse even at rest. You're nervous and emotional, have insomnia, maybe even night sweats. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is autoimmune thyroid, and it's actually the most common kind of hypothyroid condition in our country. Approximately 90% of hypothyroid sufferers have autoimmune thyroiditis, in which case you might have any or all of those symptoms. Let's talk a bit about your thyroid. It's a small gland shaped like a butterfly. It straddles a windpipe just below the larynx. It's part of your endocrine system. Your thyroid runs your metabolism. That's kind of like the gas pedal on your car. The thyroid sets the rate at which fuel is burned by every cell in the body to produce heat and energy. So your thyroid hormone affects the function of literally every cell, organ, and tissue in your whole body. For example, your heart beats harder and faster in response to thyroid hormone. And that might be why women with chronic thyroid conditions tend to have a higher rate of heart problems. So your thyroid makes two hormones, T4 and T3. T4 is the inactive type, T3 is the active type. T4, though, is converted in the peripheral tissues, like your gut and liver, into the active T3. Now, there are various situations in the body which suppress the conversion of T4 to T3. This can be checked with blood tests, although unfortunately, often it is not. So you might have enough T4, but if it's not being converted to T3, you would have symptoms of hypothyroid function. Dr. Datis Karazian is a renowned thyroid expert and the author of this book, Why Do I Still Have Thyroid Symptoms When My Lab Tests Are Normal? In this book, he discusses the fact that with autoimmune thyroid, which again is the most common kind in our country, using iodine is like throwing gasoline on a burning fire. And I agree, I would not recommend the use of iodine for someone with Hashimoto's. Well, I'm here today to share new hope with you and others who have thyroid problems. There is a way to finally end your thyroid nightmare. Well, what makes me different from all the other doctors you've seen? I treat you and support you neurologically and metabolically. I'm very thorough in my analysis. I leave no stone unturned until I identify the exact cause of your thyroid problem. So how exactly do I successfully treat thyroid conditions? It all begins with specific and comprehensive metabolic testing, to include some or all of the following. Number one, sensitivity testing. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, rye, oats, and barley, and is very commonly associated with thyroid disorders, especially the Hashimoto's type. If you're eating gluten and you have Hashimoto's, it is definitely making your condition worse and you should stop immediately. But we also test to see if you're sensitive to milk, eggs, soy, and yeast. Because if you're eating any foods that you're sensitive to, it's definitely making your condition worse, causing inflammation in your brain and throughout your whole body. So here's some of the common symptoms of eating foods that you're sensitive to. You could have chronic pain and fatigue, inflammation throughout your body, including your joints, headaches, migraines, frequent indigestion, being bloated after eating, frequent diarrhea, loose bowel movements, even constipation, mouth sores, and ulcers. And the only way to know if you're sensitive to any of these foods is by running the test. The second kind of specific metabolic test we run are complete blood panels. And again, this is not just the basic panels, but comprehensive panels. So this would include comprehensive metabolic panel, full lipid panel, complete blood count with autodifferential. These allow us to check your sugar, glucose levels, cholesterol, electrolytes, see how your liver, kidneys are functioning, your gut, red and white blood cells. If you have problems with any of these chemistries, that will definitely make a chronic condition worse. It's especially important that we perform a complete thyroid panel, not just the basic 2 or 3 tests that are normally run. So this would include the thyroid antibodies, especially important given the fact that most hypothyroidism in our country is actually an autoimmune condition in which the antibodies are attacking the thyroid. So there's a way to test that using a blood test. We would check your thyroid stimulating hormone. That's the hormone produced by your pituitary to activate your thyroid. We would check your T4 and T3 levels. So let's say that you have enough T4 in your blood, but it's not being converted to the active form T3. You'll still have hypothyroid symptoms, but if that conversion process isn't being looked at with a specific blood test, then you'll still have the hypo symptoms even though it seems like things are normal. We'll test thyroid binding globulin levels. That's a protein that carries T4 and T3 throughout the body. If you have increases of testosterone or estrogen, that can interfere with the levels of this protein molecule, and both can cause low thyroid symptoms. We'd also check total T4, free thyroxine index, and T3 uptake to measure the unsaturated binding sites on the transport protein. It's essentially important that all these tests be evaluated with optimal health ranges, not the traditional lab ranges, which are quite broad. Optimal health ranges are more narrow and are based on a healthy population. For example, the optimal range for thyroid stimulating hormone is 1.8 to 3. The traditional range is 0.5 to 5.5. So you could be at 4.2 outside the optimal range, but within the traditional range, and have problems, but be told that there's no problem. The third type of specific metabolic test we run is the adrenal stress index. This is a salivary test done at home throughout the day. Your adrenals are small glands. They sit on top of the kidneys. They're your stress glands, and they react to stress. This is essential to do if you've had lots of stress, especially if you have insomnia, diabetes, or other of the thyroid symptoms. This test measures the level of cortisol through the day. If you have high levels of cortisol, that can interfere with the conversion of your T4 to the active T3 and cause hypothyroid symptoms. We may also want to run immune panels to determine if there is indeed an autoimmune thyroid process going on. So if you do have thyroid antibodies attacking your thyroid, it's typically because the immune system is being fired up by an underlying trigger. Now there's 2 parts to the immune system, Th1 and Th2. Th1 are the T cells, helper, suppressor, regulatory T cells, natural killer cells. Th2 is the B cells that make antibodies telling the T cells what to kill. Once we know which part of the immune system is overactive, we can support you nutritionally to create a balance. We would also check your CD4-CD8 ratio. This tells us if the immune system is being stimulated by an active antigen or dysregulation. What's an active antigen? Could be a parasite, virus, bacteria, yeast, mold, fungus, a food you're eating, a metal, a petrochemical. If the CD4-CD8 ratio is 2.5 or higher, that points to the presence of an antigen which really has to be addressed. If it's less than 1.2, that points to dysregulation as a cause for the overactive immune system. And this could mean an imbalance in your blood sugar, your adrenals, hormones, or other major systems of the body. We may also want to perform an intestinal permeability test to see if you have a leaky gut. What that means is you have damage to the lining of the intestine, secondary to the use of antibiotics, bad diet, toxicity, even hormone replacement therapy. And if you have this going on, it allows toxins, microbes, even food to enter the bloodstream, and that could be what's firing up your immune system, causing the autoimmune attack. We may also want to check your hormone levels, increases or decreases of testosterone and estrogen, because these can cause low thyroid symptoms. Low hormone levels can cause symptoms like depression, fatigue, brain fog, mood swings, hot flashes, weight gain, very similar to the same symptoms of hypothyroidism. So once we perform these specific and comprehensive tests, we'll know how to best support you nutritionally in order to restore metabolic balance. Now, I'm not saying that you should stop taking the medication that you've been prescribed by your medical professional. What we do is provide complementary care to make the care you're already receiving more comprehensive and complete. Let's discuss our neurological treatments. After I evaluate you at your first visit, neurologically, I'll know the best way to support your brain's vitality. It's especially important to do this if you have a thyroid disorder, because the hypothalamus part of your brain, which is very small under the thalamus and above the pituitary, produces a hormone that tells the pituitary to turn on the thyroid. So obviously, if this part of your brain is fatigued, that whole endocrine chain will be affected. Once we've identified where the weakness is in the brain, we'll know how to increase the vitality of that part of your brain. One of the important procedures we use is exercise with oxygen therapy. Exercise with oxygen pumps oxygen into your brain and nervous system, and that helps you heal faster. The increased firing of the brain with the oxygen helps many chronic conditions. And the exercise could be in the form of squeezing a ball with one hand or pedaling a bicycle wheel with your arm. We might also stimulate your brain using auditory, visual, or olfactory stimulation. And we use other procedures as well. Non-surgical spinal decompression if you have neck and back pain due to a bulging or degenerated disc. We use infrared light therapy to help heal nerves that have been damaged, as in peripheral neuropathy. And we use a procedure known as progressive rehab to increase the strength of the muscles that stabilize your spine. Before we end, I'd like you to ask yourself these questions. How has your thyroid condition affected your relationships, finances, family, work, health? What does it cost you in the way of time, happiness, sleep, and money? And where do you picture yourself in 3 to 5 years if your condition isn't corrected? What is it worth to you to regain your health? Autoimmune thyroid, which again is the most common kind of hypothyroid in our country, is a serious condition, because if you have antibodies attacking your thyroid, they are likely attacking other tissues as well, possibly your pancreas, your brain, your nerves. I ask these questions because we only work with people who are 100% committed to regain your health, and also people that I feel we can help. So please don't waste your time or mine if you're not fully committed to regaining your health. But if you are serious, I encourage you to act on my offer for a 2-visit case review and consultation. On visit 1, we'll do a neurological evaluation, review all your prior labs, your health history form, metabolic assessment form, neurotransmitter assessment form. We'll give you a free copy of Dr. Karazian's book, Why Do I Still Have Thyroid Symptoms? And we invite you to bring your spouse or significant other to that visit so they can support you in your quest for health. At visit 2, I'll let you know if I can accept your case, and if so, what further testing is needed. We'll review the neurological findings from visit 1, and I'll present an overview of the entire treatment plan, including a review of the fees. The fee for these 2 visits, based on this offer that we're making, is $77. Normally that's $198. But if you respond within 2 weeks after receiving this DVD or viewing this DVD, it will be just $77. So we look forward to hearing from you. You can call our office at 303-985-5540. Again, that's 303-985-5540, and we look forward to meeting you soon.